Have you ever been in a situation where you found yourself feeling upset with something that someone did or said, and when you went to confront them, they sort of turned the tables on you? Suddenly you found yourself being the one begging for an apology when you were the one that had the problem in the first place? If so, stick with me because this video is for you. This behavior is an incredibly common manipulation tactic called deflection, and is often used by narcissists to sort of get out of trouble, as in to avoid taking any responsibility for their bad behavior. The goal, of course, is to shift your attention from what they've done wrong to you and what you've done wrong, at least in their eyes. It's ugly to say the very least, and it can make you feel completely lost and confused. That's exactly what we're talking about today at queenofbeing.com. Narcissistic deflection, one of the most common behaviors of toxic people. So let's get started. Narcissists are kind of infamous these days for their well-honed manipulation tactics, the best known of which is called gaslighting. In case you're new around here, gaslighting is a pervasive and highly effective tactic meant to manipulate someone by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. To put it very simply, emotional manipulation is what people do when they try to change your behavior, your thoughts, your feelings through misleading practices. And these practices, as we all know by now, well, they can be harmful to everyone involved in the situation. Some of the difficult people in your life, including the toxic narcissists you might be involved with, might try to use emotional manipulation to control you. Of course, there are various ways they can do this, and various types of emotional manipulation. From a child who cries to get what they want, to the adult narcissist who causes everyone around them to be miserable when they don't get what they want. Gaslighting takes aim at your personal self. It's about whittling away at your confidence, making you doubt yourself and your own reality. It makes you question the things around you. It makes you wonder if your thoughts are even real or if you are even real at times. The person who is using this technique wants to confuse you, wants you to feel incompetent and incapable for a number of reasons, mostly because they want to have control over you. Gaslighting also teaches you not to fight or try to overcome your abuser's treatment and manipulation of you, because it becomes exhausting, and because every time you start to make strides toward that, they change the plan. They move the goalpost, so to speak. Eventually you become so exhausted, so tired, so over it that you just literally stop trying to have your own self. You just begin to live for this person. This is the thing about gaslighting. It's sneaky, it's pervasive, it's underhanded, and it's subtle. One of the most effective kinds of gaslighting is when a narcissist sort of flips the script on you during an argument. So if you're coming to the narcissist with a problem or issue that is bothering you, or more specifically, something the toxic person has done or said, they're absolutely going to refuse to address it. Rather than taking responsibility for this behavior, they deflect and immediately go into attack mode, where they throw the ball back in your court by bringing up something that you may or may not have actually done, related or not. Of course, this puts you on the defense as you're being accused of some horrible deed, or something is being blown out of proportion, or in some cases, they may even actually project their own behavior onto you. I have dubbed this practice the Narcissistic Flip, and have found that it's a regularly employed manipulation tactic for many narcissists. The flip happens most often when you make a valid point about their behavior, or you have the nerve to, question them about anything at all. If you dare to address this little flip, you're going to find yourself distracted from the original issue that you came in with. Then, of course, the conversation becomes confusing and overwhelming, and as you try to find clarity and address all these accusations, it's almost impossible. That's about the time that everything turns around and you're suddenly the one who's sorry, mostly that you bothered to engage in yet another pointless argument. And now you're dealing with someone who has absolutely no interest in understanding you. Rather, this person's goal is to dominate you through the extreme mischaracterization of yourself so they can win this now pointless argument. It's exhausting. So how does this happen? Well, let's look at an example of how a narcissist will sort of flip the script during an argument. Now, as I share this story with you, listen carefully and ask yourself whether you recognize anything here. So this is about Jeff and Alicia, who have been married for, about 15 years, when all of a sudden, Jeff develops a drinking problem. Now, he's only been a social drinker until now, but suddenly he's spending more time away from home, and when he is home, he's drinking more often than not. Well, this causes the kids to complain to Alicia, who very carefully brings her concerns to Jeff. Jeff acknowledges, yeah, I heard the complaints from the kids. But then he says, you're the one, Alicia, who's causing these problems in the first place. She says, why is that, Jeff? I don't understand. He says, well, they're only children, and therefore they could not possibly be capable of forming those thoughts on their own. So that means that you must have told them your concerns, and that means that you poisoned our children against me. Well, now it's Alicia who's under the microscope. As Jeff has systematically pulled the old switcheroo on her, he's not only removing the focus from his bad behavior, but he begins a whole new process of putting Alicia on trial. And before she knows what's happening, Alicia starts to question her own thoughts. What if Jeff is right? What if she really is a bad mom? What if she's really been the problem all along? Maybe she is as crazy as Jeff says. After all, she can't really seem to make a simple decision anymore, not even a little one. Well, Alicia's just been gaslighted, and after 15 years, it's just another day in the life of a narcissist's wife or husband or narcissistic supply. So the thing that you have to know is that people who are attracted to narcissists often have some underlying issues, parent issues, or they've been bullied in school or something like that, and this has caused them to become very sensitive people and has caused them to want to please the people they do care about. And often, because people who have been treated this way may find themselves kind of downgrading from what they could have, if that makes any sense. So a narcissist sees someone who's vulnerable emotionally because of previous abuse as someone who is easier to glom onto, and they can, sort of temporarily help raise that person's self-esteem while at the same time, in their minds, kind of getting in on somebody who's really too good for them. But they think the victim thinks they're not too good because they've been abused and taught otherwise. Does that make sense? Because we doubt our worthiness. It's because we don't believe that we are good enough or that we are worth anything that they are able to get to us. It's what makes us vulnerable to narcissists. When a narcissist is trying to choose a victim, they're looking for someone who is going to be dependable, someone who's going to always be ready to help them anytime they need it. So people who are prime choice victims, they are people who tend to be joiners or helpers. They, if they see somebody in pain, they want to help that person. And that's unfortunately something that an empath naturally does. When you're an empath, you naturally want to help anyone that you see who needs help. So a narcissist picks up on that. Being a narcissistic supply is miserable. Going into the relationship, we're treated like we're on top of the world. We're treated like we're the best thing since sliced bread, and we feel that. We feel excited about it. And then as time goes on and they get used to us, they get tired of us, they recognize we're human, all of a sudden we are on the chopping block. We are in the discard phase. We're in the devalue phase. Well, this is something that you don't have to put up with. You have the right and almost the responsibility to create a life for yourself that feels good, a life that makes you happy and doesn't make you feel miserable all the time. And if you're going through something like what Alicia's going through, or what a lot of survivors have experienced, if you're going through a toxic relationship, you need to make choices and decide, is this something that I want to continue for the rest of my life? And I want you to ask yourself, is this person's happiness more important than my own? And even if you do stay with a narcissist, are they really going to be happy, or will they continue to be the miserable person that they are? And I think you and I both know the answer to that. Sometimes we don't ask questions, or we don't look into things deeper because we don't really want to know the answers. If your relationship is confusing you and you're feeling like you don't know which way is up, this might be a good time to get ready to get uncomfortable. However unpleasant things feel right now, it could get a whole lot worse. And maybe there's nothing to worry about, and maybe there is. Chances are, if you're feeling confused and you're not sure, your worries might be legitimate. It's important to understand what a gut feeling is, or what intuition is, and how to listen to it. And the fact is, if you think there's something wrong, there probably is. This brings me to the question of the day. And the question of the day is, does this sound familiar to you? Have you experienced the narcissistic flip? Share your thoughts, share your ideas, share your experiences in the comment section below, and let's talk about it. As always, thank you so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life. And hey, thanks for letting me be a part of yours. It really does mean a lot to me. Now, before I go, make sure you take a look at the videos I'm leaving for you right here and right here. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue on this healing journey together. I'll see you soon.